Today's opening day of corn combining season of 2024. And off he goes with the combine. Now since today's a Sunday at the farm, it's just me, Mom, and Dad. And since we're opening up a field, Mom will be running the grain cart today. I'll be running probably the truck for at least the morning. And since we're just getting started, normally things will want to break down. So I'm gonna take that truck out to the field. Mom's gonna take the diesel truck out to the same field. That way we have a truck to run around with in case anything does break down. Now in a normal year, we would combine all of our soybeans first before we even start combining corn. But this is anything far from a normal year. And that's because back in June we had 13 inches of rain, and I came back here in July and replanted a lot of beans in the drowned out spots. Coincidentally, all the drowned out spots are where the driveways are. So now we still have green beans here where the driveway is and not green where the rest of the field is. And since we're not willing to drive over those green beans to harvest the beans that are ready in a lot of our fields, that's why this year we're starting harvest by combining corn.
Oh.
Did you just hit your leg on the door?
Yeah, that's the big dummy.
That had to hurt.
It did.
Ugh. So you ready to start combining?
I don't combine, I drive green cart.
I know, but are you ready to start harvest?
Well, not really, but at least when we start, we're closer to the finish.
At least you're optimistic.
Yeah.
There's the grain cart and tractor Mom's gonna be driving. Now I'm gonna head back out to the field to ride in the combine with Dad, help him get all the settings and everything adjusted how we want it in the cab before we have the first load ready to go. For the head?
4.5 on the head. It doesn't go past zero. I think I'm gonna tip it
Looks
back,
like it's gotta go down some.
this way.
Yeah. Corn is definitely plenty dry out here. It's early to be picking corn, but we'll see what it's testing for moisture once we get up in the cab. We're off combining some corn. Green's flowing in. We're going down the first lengthways, half-mile round. The spot we're at right now, you can see on the screen, it's about 12%. But up there, there's still some green stalk matter. It's really variable where the moisture's at, just depending on where the water's at this spring. Here you can visually see there's some rows of green corn, there's some rows of dead corn that's nice and dry, but the problem is that's all getting mixed up right now in the combine and the grain cart. Well, a decision has been made. He's folding out the unloading auger right now. I'm gonna head back, bring the semi out to this field. We're gonna get this grain brought home. But because the grain is just fluctuating so much, we're gonna end up running all this stuff through the dryer, but we wanna know how much exactly is going to be of that higher moisture. So I'm going to bring the drone back out. We're going to see where all the green spots are out here, see if it's worth continuing. But we're going to head back home now. Which semi should we take? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. This one usually has more problems. That one has a lower trailer. I'm a tall person. I'm going to risk it today with the white one. Oh, we're gonna spend a lot of time in the trucks this fall, which is not a bad thing. Right here, we're going by another one of our soybean fields. The beans on the left, those ones are planted back in May. Now I have all these green replant beans that we're waiting to turn or to die before we can get out there and combine all that field. Get the tarp opened up, that way Mom can start loading on me when she gets back down here with the cart. Well, let's see what we can find with the drone. Basically, what I'm thinking is any spot where water sat this spring, back in that 13-inch rain in June, that is where all the crop is still green, still growing, hasn't fully matured. And that's where a lot of that higher moisture grain is out in this field. Unfortunately, it's all scattered across out in all the low spots, so we can't go around it, but it's looking like it's a larger area than what I was anticipating. Another problem we're running into, where all that water sat, these plants are very low to the ground. I mean, this ear is maybe a foot off the ground, so we're trying to get the corn head set low enough to get these ears into the head, which is not the most easy thing to do, since normally we're shooting for about a 3-foot height of the ears off the ground. Now we're dealing with about a foot and a half off the ground. We can control the height of the head from inside the cab, but we can't really control the height of the snoots other than coming down here and adjusting this little pin. So right now we have it on the second lowest setting, or the second highest setting I should say. We're gonna go across the head, raise them all up, that way we can get the head just a little bit lower to the ground. The corn ain't very high off the ground here. You think?
Terrible. No corn.
I think we figured out the corn head, got that set as low as it can possibly go. Here's the pass we made before we lowered it. You can see a bunch of ears on the ground that we missed. Now just a couple rows over, this is where we lowered the head, but as you can tell, we took a lot more of the stalk away. So the downfall is if we get a big heavy wind, all of our stalk and nutrients in these stalks is gonna blow away, unlike over here. But we need to get the corn, so we're gonna keep cutting it short just like we did on this most recent pass. I cannot believe how close this corn is to the ground. Look at this. There's not even enough hardly room for me to spread my whole hand between the corn and the ground, and it's like that everywhere where water sat this spring. Ugly. Here's where the water killed all the corn. At least here it's not going to be hard to have to pick the ears out because there's no ears here.
There's gonna be so much corn out here.
This corn yeah, we're not gonna get it all.
Terrible.
Here's another spot, view from the combine. This stuff's really dry, about 18, 19 on the monitor. Now up here where the water sat again this spring, look at that stuff. All still lush green. The plan we made inside the combine is it's too wet. We got down to one end of the field, it was almost 30%. That's too wet for us to run through the dryer. So Mom's gonna give me a ride back up to the semi. She's gonna top off the back half. Then Dad's just gonna take 12 more rows back up to that end of the road, and we're gonna pull out of here.
Whoops.
So the reason we don't go around little spots like this with the corn head is because the way the corn head and the snouts work, we need to stay with the rows to bring all the corn into the head. So unlike beans or like a lawnmower, we just don't have the option to go around all the spots in the field with the higher moisture grain. Now that she's got me loaded up, I'm gonna start closing the tarp here. It should go automatically, maybe. There we go. Put her in drive and head her back to the farm. First time pulling up on the grain pit for the year. Now because we're only planning on taking out one more load out of that field, I'm just gonna leave this semi parked here since we want to get the dryer started yet today, because we're gonna end up needing to dry some of that grain in there. So now we're gonna hop way up there. We're gonna take the red semi out to the field. We'll get that one filled up, then everybody's gonna come back home. We'll start getting the dryer going. Open her up, kick the key on. Gotta wait like 3 seconds. Once you start hearing it beeping, that's usually, there you go. Punch these in again. It's nice that the trucks are literally the exact same on the inside, so makes it easier to drive between the two when I'm switching like I did here. Look both ways, clear over there, clear over there. Hammer her down. Open up the tarp. Better make sure the gates are all the way closed as well. That one is. I mean, corn's already only worth $4 a bushel. Why waste any more money by dumping it back out on the ground? Looks like we're good though. And now we close the tarp back up and wait, and then we go right back home. Who's this jackwagon that's on the scale that I'm still waiting for? Let's go, buddy. Oh wait, that's me. I just brought this one back 10 minutes ago. Since these are the only 2 loads of grain that we have, it's not gonna be enough to fill up part of the wet bin, run the dryer, and then fill up part of the dry bin. So the plan is we're just gonna take all this grain, put it in the wet bin, kick the fan on, but I first gotta make sure the distributor way up at the top that selects which bin the grain goes to is set to this wet bin right here. Set this to the wet bin. Make sure that's locked in. Now we need to turn the leg on before we can start dumping those pits. So to do that, we just gotta hit this green button right here. Then I want to turn the fan on at the top. Test fire it here first in manual. Looks like it's gonna work. Now I want to make sure we're not overloading anything since this is the first load of the year. So I didn't completely open the traps on the trucks. We'll just kind of monitor our gauges here to make sure we don't plug the augers or the leg. Also, should check to make sure it's going in the right bin. It should be going inside here. Open the door up, take a peek. With everything looking good, it's time to open up the traps all the way. That way I get this truck out of the way. Then we'll bring the next one onto the dump. Now the way that pit works that we just dumped into is it just has a small gate or a small little slide that it allows grain to get to. And that's just slowly augering the grain up into the leg and up into the bin. And once the grain level gets so low it doesn't pull as many amps for power off a meter, then it's gonna shut down all the augers and everything. But in this instance, since this is our first load, I'm gonna be here at the farm either way, and I still got the other truck to unload to watch it. But that's just kind of how that pit works and how it saves us a lot of time in the fall when we keep going load to load to load. Before we bring the other truck up here, I want to make sure that the grain's still flowing. Oh yeah, it's flowing out nice out of here. It's always a good idea to check, because if I don't check and start emptying the next one, then we got to vac out all this grain, which is not very fun. Fill up the hopper. Commodity we're testing, corn. Come on. Hit here. Now it's gonna drop that grain into basically a small cylinder like this. You can kind of see in there. Levels it off. It's gonna give us the moisture, the temperature, and the test weight on this screen for a readout. So that test was 19.3, 53 pounds, 71.5 degrees coming out of the field. Sounds like there's a little bit more corn on the grain cart that we're gonna get dumped in the bin. So we're just gonna swing the truck back around. They're already back with the combine and grain cart in the yard. They're gonna throw that in here and I'll dump it back inside the pit. Dad's running the grain cart. He's a little bit out of his element in there because he normally bounces between the combine and the truck switching with me. So we'll see how he does here. We'll put it on camera, see how he does. I'm almost certain he broke the slip clutch. He broke the slip clutch. Well, he must not not have broke the slip clutch because it looks like it's still going. Normally when it gives that big bang down there, there's a little bolt that shears off if you overload it. Must not have been the case in this instance. And now back down to the pit we go to unload this little bit. Let's take a peek now inside the bin. The pit stopped running, all the grain's inside. Got about 2,200 bushels inside this 27,000 bushel bin. Actually looks a lot more than I thought because that's the top door I just opened and we at least have the bottom two covered. So there you can see we're about 1/10 of the bin full. Well, it's pretty obvious. We're gonna have a very interesting and potentially a once in a lifetime thing to remember come this harvest season with all the moisture that we had back in June, all the drowned out replant sections that we're basically gonna go through, go around, who's to say? And if you guys want to be a part of it, want to see how it all plays out come this harvest season, now that it's started, I'd encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below to see it all play out real time here on the channel. And with that, that is day one of corn harvest. Didn't get a ton done today. I would have liked to keep going, but that's it. That's all I got for today's video of High Tech Farmer. Thanks so much everybody for watching. We'll see ya in the next one.